The arrival, the Empire's pride. The Selvan Empire had ruled the stars for over 1,000 years. Their fleets were mighty, their warriors feared, and their technology unmatched. Many species had tried to resist them, but all had failed. Today, Admiral Terran Vex stood aboard his flagship, the Blade of Dominion, gazing at the vastness of space. He had seen countless battles, had conquered entire worlds, and had crushed rebellions with ruthless efficiency. Yet, today felt different. "Admiral," a voice called from behind. It was Commander Lyrak, his second in command. "We have detected an unknown vessel approaching the outer defense zone." Terran raised an eyebrow. The Empire's outer defense zone was heavily guarded. No species dared to enter without permission. "Unknown vessel," he repeated. Lyrak nodded. "It's human." The bridge fell silent. The word human carried a strange weight. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage. They were not the strongest, not the most advanced, and certainly not the most powerful. Yet they had a reputation. They were stubborn, unpredictable, and somehow always found a way to win. "Show me," Terran ordered. A holographic display appeared before him. There it was, the human ship. Terran frowned. Something was wrong. It was alone. One ship, that's impossible. The Selvan Empire had fought many wars. Whenever an enemy challenged them, they sent entire fleets, hundreds, sometimes thousands of ships. Even the smallest rebellion required at least dozens of warships. But this, one, single, ship. Terran leaned forward. "Are you certain this is all they sent?" "Yes, Admiral," Lyrak confirmed. "Long-range scans show no other vessels nearby. No reinforcements, no hidden fleet." He hesitated before adding, "It makes no sense." Terran agreed. It made no sense at all. If the humans were planning to attack, why send only one ship? And if this was a diplomatic mission, why weren't they responding to hails? A feeling of unease crept into Terran's mind. Laughter and doubt. The bridge officers whispered among themselves. Some chuckled. Others scoffed. "This must be a mistake," one officer said. "Perhaps they are lost." Another joked. "Or maybe they think one ship is enough to scare us." Someone laughed. Terran did not laugh. There was something off about this. The humans were not fools. They had survived countless wars. They had defeated enemies stronger than them before. They would never send one ship without a reason. But what was that reason? Analyzing the threat. "Scan the ship," Terran ordered. The scanning officer worked quickly. Numbers, graphs, and readings appeared on the screen. Then, the officer froze. Terran narrowed his eyes. "Report." The officer's voice was uneasy. "Admiral, I don't understand these readings." "What do you mean?" The officer hesitated, then spoke carefully. "The ship's energy output is too high, higher than what a ship of its size should be capable of. Almost as if it's hiding its true strength." That made Terran's unease grow. "Shields?" he asked. "Unknown. The readings are strange. It's like they're cycling through different frequencies, making it hard to get an exact measurement." "Weapons?" "Unknown." The officer shook his head. "No visible weapon ports. No turrets. No missile bays." He hesitated before adding, "But there is something we can't detect properly." Terran's expression darkened. A ship with no weapons and no shields wouldn't enter a war zone. That would be suicide. Yet this human ship had come alone, without backup, without reinforcements, and without a single word of communication. Why? The Emperor's orders. Commander Lyrak folded his arms. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Terran exhaled slowly. His instincts told him to wait, to analyze, to understand. But the Selvan Empire did not wait. They acted with strength and dominance. If he hesitated too long, the Emperor himself would question his leadership. "Prepare a small fleet," Terran commanded. 50 warships. The bridge officers stiffened. 50, sir. Terran nodded. We will not take risks. He turned his gaze back to the holographic display. The human ship hadn't moved. It simply floated in space, waiting, as if it knew what was coming. Terran clenched his fists. If the humans thought they could intimidate the Selvan Empire with just one ship, they were about to learn a painful lesson. Or so he thought, because the Selvans were the ones who were about to be surprised. The mystery deepens. The Selvan fleet moved into position, surrounding the solitary human ship. 50 warships, each armed with plasma cannons, disruptor beams, and missile pods, formed a deadly blockade around the lone vessel. Admiral Terran Vex stood on the command bridge of the Blade of Dominion, watching the holographic display. The human ship still isn't responding. Commander Lyric reported. No transmissions, no distress signals, nothing. Terran frowned. Silence was unusual. Most species, when confronted by an Imperial fleet, would either surrender immediately or try to negotiate. But the humans, they just waited. Analyzing the human vessel. Scan them again, Terran ordered. The scanning officer quickly obeyed. His hands flew over the control panel as the sensors probed the strange ship. But the moment the results came in, he paled. Admiral, something is wrong. Terran turned. Explain. The officer swallowed. Our scans can't get a full reading. The ship's energy signature keeps shifting. 1 second. It's minimal. The next, it spikes beyond our highest readings. Terran narrowed his eyes. And what about their weapons? The officer hesitated. We still detect no external weapons, sir. But we're picking up power surges inside the ship, like it's charging something. A cold feeling crept up Terran's spine. This was not normal. The first warning. Enough of this, Terran said. Open a direct broadcast to the human vessel. The comms officer nodded, and a sharp beep echoed through the bridge. Terran stepped forward, keeping his voice strong and commanding. This is Admiral Terran Vex of the Selvan Empire. You have trespassed into Imperial space. Identify yourselves immediately. Silence. Terran's jaw tightened. Failure to respond will be considered an act of aggression. Still, no answer. The human ship just floated there, silent and motionless. The Selvan officers exchanged uneasy glances. Then, without warning, a single message appeared on the main screen. You have one chance to leave. Confusion and laughter. The bridge erupted into laughter. Is this a joke? One officer scoffed. They are outnumbered 50 to 1, and they're threatening us. Another sneered. Typical human arrogance. Lyric muttered, shaking his head. Terran, however, did not laugh. Something felt wrong. Humans were reckless, yes, but not suicidal. Why would they send one ship against an entire fleet? And why did they seem so calm? The first shot. Terran made his decision. Fire a warning shot. A low hum vibrated through the ship as one of the Selvan warships fired a plasma burst at the human vessel. It was not a lethal shot, just enough to send a message. The glowing plasma streaked through space, moving at incredible speed. And then, something impossible happened. The moment the plasma reached the human ship, it vanished. No explosion, no impact, no shields flaring to absorb the hit. It was as if the plasma had simply ceased to exist. Silence fell across the Selvan bridge. What just happened? Lyric stammered. The scanning officer's hands trembled over the controls. Admiral, I don't know. It's like the energy was erased. The second warning. A second message appeared on the screen. Leave now. This is your final warning. Terran's blood ran cold. This was no bluff. This ship, this lone, silent ship, had just done something impossible. For the first time in his career, Terran felt fear. But fear was not enough to stop him. Charge weapons, he ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands clenched into fists. Prepare the fleet for full engagement. If the humans wanted a fight, then the Selvan Empire would give them one. He had no idea that this battle would be unlike anything he had ever faced before. The first contact. The conflict begins. The Blade of Dominion's bridge was tense. The Selvan fleet had been in countless battles, had conquered dozens of civilizations, and had crushed entire planetary defenses in mere hours. They were unstoppable. Yet here they were, facing one single human ship, and something about it felt wrong. Admiral Terran Vex refused to let fear cloud his mind. "All ships, prepare to fire on my command," he ordered, his voice firm. A silence hung over the bridge. The officers were no longer laughing. They had seen the impossible with their own eyes. The human ship had simply erased their plasma shot. Was it a fluke? Some new technology? Terran didn't care. He would not let the Empire be mocked. "Charge weapons," he repeated. "We fire together, full power." Across the fleet, the warship's plasma cannons, disruptor beams, and missile launchers powered up, glowing with deadly energy. But just before Terran could give the order, the human ship moved. And it moved fast. Impossible speed. On the holographic display, the small human ship suddenly vanished from its position. "What?" the scanning officer yelled. "It just disappeared from our sensors." "Find it," Terran barked. The officers scrambled, hands flying over control panels. Then, "It's behind us." Terran spun around, eyes wide. The human ship had somehow moved past the entire fleet in an instant. It now hovered directly behind the Blade of Dominion. The bridge was silent. That wasn't possible. No ship could move that fast. Terran's heart pounded in his chest. This was no ordinary enemy. "Turn the ship around. Fire everything we have." The Blade of Dominion and the surrounding warships pivoted, weapons locked onto the human vessel. And then, for the first time, the human ship fired. One shot, total devastation. A single blue beam erupted from the human ship. It wasn't large, not like the massive plasma cannons that Selvans used. It was thin, precise, almost elegant. And it sliced through 10 Selvan warships in 1 second. The bridge fell into stunned silence as the display updated. 10 blinking dots turned black. 10 warships. Gone. Destroyed in an instant. There was no explosion. No wreckage. Just nothing. Terran froze. His officers stared at the screen in horror. What kind of weapon is that?" Lurak whispered. No one answered. No one could. Terran's breathing was heavy. This was no ordinary battle. This was a massacre. Panic in the fleet. Across the Selvan fleet, officers and soldiers screamed in terror. "How did they do that? We've never seen technology like this. We need to retreat." "Hold your ground," Terran roared. His fleet could not retreat. The Selvan Empire did not run. He clenched his fists. "All remaining ships, fire everything." A wave of plasma bolts, disruptor beams, and missiles rained toward the human ship, filling space with deadly energy. But then, every single shot missed. Or rather, the human ship moved too fast to be hit. It weaved between attacks with inhuman precision, dodging everything, like it was toying with them. Terran gritted his teeth. This was wrong. This was impossible. And then, the human ship sent one final message. The final warning. The Selvan bridge screen flickered, and a single line of text appeared. "This battle is over. Surrender or be erased." Silence. Pure, terrifying silence. Terran's hands trembled. The greatest fleet of the Empire, reduced to nothing in minutes. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. For the first time in his life, Terran didn't know what to do. The humans had already won. The impossible battle. Humans strike back. The bridge of the Blade of Dominion was dead silent. The Selvan officers, trained warriors, conquerors of dozens of species, stood frozen in place. Their once mighty fleet had been shattered in seconds. 10 warships erased with a single shot. Admiral Terran Vex gripped the command console so tightly his knuckles turned pale. His mind raced. How? How was this possible? No species had ever wielded such overwhelming firepower. No ship had ever moved like that. And yet the humans, a species that Selvins had barely considered a threat, had just proven that they were something far more dangerous. And now, the human ship had sent its final message. This battle is over. Surrender or be erased. Fear spreads through the fleet. The remaining Selvin warships, 40 in total, hesitated. Across comm channels, Terran heard chaos. What are we fighting against? Our weapons can't hit it. Our shields are useless. We have to escape. Enough. Terran roared. Hold your positions. His voice echoed across the bridge, snapping some of his officers out of their panic. That Selvin Empire did not surrender. But deep inside, for the first time in his life, he felt doubt. Could they win this fight? A desperate counterattack. Terran inhaled sharply. All remaining warships surround the enemy. Lyrek's eyes widened. Sir, that's... They cannot dodge forever, Terran interrupted. If we trap them, we can overwhelm them. The fleet moved in, forming a spherical blockade around the human ship. The Selvin ships locked weapons on all sides. Nowhere to run. Terran gave the order. Fire everything. A wall of energy beams, plasma bolts, and missiles streaked through space, converging on the human vessel. And for the first time, the human ship stopped moving. Terran's breath caught in his throat. Did they finally trap it? The energy blasts collided, and then they vanished. The weapon of the gods. A glowing energy field surrounded the human ship. It wasn't a shield. No, this was something far more advanced. The attacks disintegrated upon contact. Every missile, every plasma blast, erased from existence. The bridge fell deathly silent. Terran's officers were horrified. Lyrek's voice was barely above a whisper. They're untouchable. Then the human ship fired again. A single blue beam cut across space. This time, 20 Selvin warships disappeared. Gone. No wreckage. No explosions. Just nothing. The Selvin fleet, once a symbol of dominance, had been reduced to less than half its original strength. Terran's heart pounded. This wasn't war. This was execution. The turning point. The comm channels exploded with panic. We have to retreat. We can't win this. They're wiping us out like we're insects. Admiral, we need orders. Terran clenched his fists. He had never considered surrender in his entire life. But now, for the first time, he saw no way out. That Selvins had spent centuries believing they were the strongest species in the galaxy. But today, that belief had been shattered. The humans weren't just stronger. They were beyond comprehension. And then, the human ship sent one final transmission. This was mercy. Terran's blood turned cold. Mercy. Had the humans been holding back? The truth revealed, the stakes get higher. The blade of dominion was silent. Not from discipline, not from duty, but from pure, unfiltered terror. Admiral Terran Vex stood motionless, staring at the screen where, moments ago, 20 more of his warships had been erased. Not destroyed. Not even defeated. Just gone. The remaining ships of the Selvin fleet drifted in space, their crews paralyzed. No one spoke. No one dared to move. The Selvins had never faced an enemy like this before. An enemy beyond understanding. And then, a new sensor alert flashed. Admiral, Commander Lyrek's voice was barely above a whisper. There's something else. Terran forced himself to focus. What now? Lyrek swallowed hard. More ships, human ships, thousands of them. The hidden armada. The Selvin bridge officers stared at their monitors in horror. The scanners had picked up something they hadn't detected before, a massive human fleet hidden just beyond the system's asteroid belt. Not a few ships, not 100, thousands. It was a full-scale invasion force. Terran's stomach twisted. He had assumed the lone human ship was a scout or some kind of advanced warship. But no, it was a message, a warning. And now, that warning had become a reality. The final choice. Terran turned to his officers. No one spoke. Every officer on the bridge knew the truth now. This battle had never been a battle. It had never even been a test of strength. It was a demonstration, a lesson. The humans had come not to fight, but to show the Selvans what was coming. Lyrak stepped forward, voice trembling. "Admiral, what do we do?" Terran's fists clenched. His pride screamed at him to fight to the last ship, to go down as a warrior of the Empire. But his mind, the part of him that had survived 1,000 battles, knew the truth. They had already lost, and the humans were giving them a choice. Terran exhaled slowly. His next words would decide the fate of his people. He raised his hand, hesitating for only a second. Then, in a voice heavy with defeat, he spoke. "Stand down. Signal our surrender." The human response. The Selvan fleet powered down their weapons. For the first time in history, the great Selvan Empire had surrendered. The human ship hovered silently, as if watching them. Then, a single final message appeared on the main screen. "Wise choice." And just like that, the human ship vanished. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone, disappearing into the void of space like a ghost. The massive human armada, hidden in the asteroid belt, never moved. They had never needed to. One ship had been enough. Aftermath. A new galactic order. The Selvans returned to their homeworld in silence. No celebrations, no speeches, no explanations. The Emperor himself demanded answers. How did one ship force an empire to its knees? Terran had no answer. All he knew was that the galaxy had changed forever. The humans had not just defeated them. They had proven something far more terrifying. The war had never been a war. It had never even started. Because when it came to humans, one ship was enough. The last choice, tension climaxes. The Selvan fleet limped home, battered not by battle, but by the weight of their own defeat. Admiral Terran Vex sat in silence in his private chamber aboard the Blade of Dominion. He had fought wars. He had crushed rebellions. He had stood before the Emperor himself and sworn loyalty to the Selvan cause. And now, he had surrendered without a fight. Not because he was weak, but because he had no choice. The humans had done something no enemy had ever done before. They had made the Selvans feel small. And that was more dangerous than any weapon. The Emperor's wrath. The moment Terran's fleet arrived at Selva Prime, he was summoned before the Emperor. The Imperial Chamber was filled with the Empire's most powerful warlords, strategists, and leaders. All of them stared at him, their eyes burning with anger, shame, and confusion. The Emperor, seated on his golden throne, leaned forward. "You surrendered," he said, his voice calm but deadly. Terran remained still. "Yes, my Emperor." A murmur spread through the chamber. No one ever admitted failure so openly. The Emperor's voice was low. "Explain." Terran took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment. "We were never meant to win that battle," he said. "We were never even meant to fight." The chamber fell silent. Terran continued. "The humans sent one ship, and we believed they were fools." His hands clenched into fists. "But that ship was stronger than our entire fleet." "Impossible," a general scoffed. Terran's gaze darkened. "I saw it with my own eyes. It erased our weapons. It moved beyond our ability to track. And when it attacked, it did not destroy us. It deleted us." That silenced them. Terran turned back to the Emperor. "Then we discovered the truth." The Emperor's expression remained unreadable. "And what truth is that?" Terran's voice was quiet but firm. "That one ship was a warning. Fear spreads across the empire. The chamber erupted in disbelief. You expect us to believe humans hold that kind of power? They are barely more advanced than the Krell. This must be some kind of trick. We should mobilize the fleet. Show them we will not bow. Terran slammed his fist against the table, silencing them. They were not trying to fight us, he growled. They were showing us what will happen if we challenge them. The room grew cold. Terran looked around at the faces of his fellow leaders. Do you not see? If they had wanted war, they would have attacked with their entire fleet. He shook his head. But they didn't. He leaned forward. Instead, they sent one ship. One. No one spoke. The humans were testing us. Terran said finally. They wanted to see if we were wise enough to understand the lesson. The Emperor's decision. The Emperor sat back in his throne, his fingers tapping against the armrest. His golden eyes were cold, calculating. Then he spoke. If what you say is true, he said slowly, then we are no longer the strongest force in the galaxy. Terran lowered his head. No, my Emperor. The Emperor exhaled, the weight of this truth pressing down upon him. And what, he asked, do the humans want from us? Terran hesitated before answering. They didn't say. He clenched his fists. They don't want our territory. They don't want tribute. They don't even want war. Then why send the ship? The Emperor asked. Terran's next words sent a chill through the room. To let us know that if war ever comes, it will not be a war. He looked around the chamber, eyes filled with certainty. It will be an extinction. The weight of his words hung in the air like a thunderstorm. The greatest empire in the galaxy had just been put in its place, and the humans hadn't even needed to fire a second shot. The resolution, a shocking end. That Selvan Empire was shaken to its core. Word of the humans' overwhelming power spread like wildfire. No one spoke of victory anymore. No one asked for revenge. Because everyone understood the truth. This was not just a lost battle. This was the end of Selvan supremacy. The humans had not conquered them. They had simply demonstrated that they could. And that was far worse. The galactic response. Across the galaxy, other civilizations watched in horror. For centuries, the Selvans had been the dominant power. They had crushed lesser races, enslaved weaker empires, and ruled through sheer force. Now, they had surrendered without a fight. If the mighty Selvan Empire, with its vast fleets and warlords, had fallen to a single human ship, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? The ruling councils of the Varn Dominion, the Zeltrax Coalition, and the Drakari Hegemony convened emergency meetings. One question echoed through every chamber of power. What do the humans want? Humanity's silence. But the humans gave no answer. They made no demands. They did not take Selvan territory. They did not claim tribute or resources. They did not even celebrate their victory. They simply vanished. The lone ship that had shattered that Selvan fleet disappeared into deep space. The hidden human armada that had been waiting in the asteroid belt. It never moved. The humans had proven their point, and then they left. That was the most terrifying part. They hadn't done this for revenge. They hadn't done it for glory. They had done it for something else. And no one knew what that was. The Selvan dilemma. Emperor Malazor Ixel sat in his throne room, his mind in turmoil. His empire had never feared another species, not the Krell, not the Drakari, not the insectoid swarm. But now, the humans had broken them without breaking them. Terran Vex stood before him, waiting for the final judgment. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Then, in a voice colder than space itself, he spoke. You surrendered our fleet. You brought shame to the Empire. Terran did not flinch. I saved it from annihilation. A tense silence. Then, to everyone's shock, the Emperor nodded. And that, he said, may be the only reason we still exist. The new reality. That Selvan Empire was never the same again. Where once they ruled by fear, they now ruled cautiously. They never invaded another world. They never expanded beyond their borders. They never looked at humans the same way again. Because now, in every Sylvan War Council, in every military meeting, one terrifying question loomed over them. A question no one dared to answer. What happens if the humans send more than one ship? The final message. Months later, an encrypted transmission was intercepted. No one knew where it came from. No one knew how it got through that Sylvan security grid. It contained one line of text. A message that sent chills through the Empire. You are not our enemy, but do not test us again. Humanity.